you, sir. Okay. Very good. All right, let's go ahead and start this. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Laredo Webb County Area Metropolitan Planning Organization Policy Committee. It's obviously a virtual meeting. We have a live web link, public access channel, Spectrum TV, channel 1300. We are live June 15th, today's dates, 2020, and its approximate time is 1:37. We will have the chairperson call the meeting to order. We're going to go ahead and have Kirby. Can you go ahead and call roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Vanessa?
Elma?
Vanessa, you were muted. If you could start over.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Pete Sines? Norma Nelly Vielma? Dr. Marta Martinez? George Altgeld?
I am here. I am present.
Yeah, Dr. Martinez, I believe, is present.
Thank you. George Altgeld? Ano E. Tigrina?
Present.
Jesse Gonzalez? John Galo?
He's here as well.
And David Antonio.
Sorry, present.
He's present. They're both present.
For the record, we do have a quorum.
Very good. Thank you. Item number 3 is
Those that are absent,
I'm sorry, say that again, Commissioner Guerrero?
motion to excuse those that are absent. We've got an echo.
Second. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That's kind of what I'm going to do, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll take my time. If somebody opposes, just let me know. Let's just try to keep it as clean as possible for the public to be able to understand and adhere to what we're trying to do. So I hear what we're trying to do. So let's go ahead, and item number 3 is citizen comments. At this particular point in time, do we have anything, Mr. Stegman?
If we can, there's about a 30-second delay. If we can wait and see if anybody calls in, and I'll just use this time to remind everybody best practices for the meeting. If you're not speaking, if you could mute your mic. While you are speaking, if you can identify yourself for our record keeping. If you make a motion, if you could say your name before you make the motion. If you second, if you could provide your name as well, that will really help us with the minutes. And that's it. And if we hear somebody call in from the public, we will, our staff will join in and let you know.
Very good. Go ahead, and this item number 4, items requiring policy committee action. We're going to go 4A, approval of minutes in the virtual meeting held on May 18, 2020. Do I have a motion?
Marta Martinez, so moved.
I'll second that, Doc. Motion second, that there's no changes to, for the approval of the minutes. Motion second, any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 4B, receive public testimony and approve resolution number MPO 2020-06, adopting a 2021-2024 transportation improvement plan, which is, for us is a tip. So, anything on that, Kirby?
No, this was provided in the packet for review. These are ongoing. This is something we've been bringing you along the way, so you should be familiar with it.
We don't need to open it up. It's already open. Is that correct? So we don't need a motion to open it up.
Yes, it's been open, and at this time we're still receiving public testimony, but this is the meeting where you can approve it.
Do we need to do anything to it for this?
No, just a motion to approve the resolution and adopt the tip.
John Galo, for the record, moved to approve the motion, the resolution, and adopt the tip.
Second by Marta Martinez.
Very good. I have a motion by Commissioner Galo, second by Dr. Martinez. Any other questions or comments? They are closed. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 4C, receive public testimony and approve resolution MPO number 2020-07, adopting the following proposed amendments of the 2020-2045 Metropolitan Transportation Plan, MTP, better known as MTP for us. Do we have to do do we do C1 and C1 and C8, or we wait for C only?
C1A is the only one. It's actually just A. Sometimes we have multiple, so it's A, B, and C, but for this time, it's just A.
Okay, would you like me to read C? I already read C. You want me to read 1 and A? That's all one inclusive, right?
If you could just read A, that would be good.
Okay. CA is addition of project CSJ 0086-02-023, intended to provide for the widening of SH 359 from 2 to 4 lanes from 8.935 miles east of SL 20 to 9.830 miles east of SL 20, with an estimated total project cost of $7,367,400. The proposed letting date is FY fiscal year 2023. Do I have any comments on it?
John Galo, for the record, move to approve the resolution and adopt the addition of the project CSJ 0086-02-023.
I will give a chance for a second.
Second by Martin Martinez.
Very good. I have a motion, Commissioner Galo, second by Commissioner Dr. Martinez. Any other questions or comments on this particular item? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. For D, see public testimony initiated 20-day public review and comment period for the draft of 2021 Unified Planning Work Program, UPWP.
Yes, if you allow me, Judge, I'll provide a little bit of context here. Our UPWP is our work plan for the year that spells out what we're going to do. And, it's broad, but it was included in the packet, which you would have had an opportunity to review in more detail. But I'll just give you the summary table, which shows you basically the budget that we're laying out. Now, if you recall last year, we made some changes from what we were doing in previous years, in that we added much more to management and administration to allow us to bring staff aboard. And we've been making good progress towards that. We now have an MPO division manager. We have MPO staff that are working full-time on internal projects. We just hired another, I can announce, Juan Mendive, who's joining us as a transportation planner, and replacing Vanessa's position where she was previously. And so we're growing that team, we're building that team, and it's giving us capacity to do more projects internally. And there's a big benefit to that, not only in savings, because it costs more to go do consulting outside, but also in turnaround time. If commissioners, council members, if the committee members here want us to do something, we don't have to go and get if you want to look into something or you want to do a study on something, we can turn a project around in a couple months versus several months or a year, because we have to go out and hire consultants to do it. So that's what we're building. Now, I just provided for context so you can see, last year we brought you an overall budget of about 1.2 million. And that was if we got everything done that we planned to, if we hired all the staff, if we found all the staff in the first year. And we said then, it's not likely that we're going to spend even close to that much, because it takes time to find these staff, and not all of our projects, our studies are able to be carried out in 1 year. They're often carried out over multiple years. So we budget for best case scenario, and then we adjust. Now, if you see on the bottom below this table, the table is what we plan to spend this year, best case scenario. Table below, let me take you through this. At the end of fiscal year 2018-2019, and that ended in October of 2019, we had 1.5 million in reserves for our planning grant. Now, this money can just be used to fund MPO staff, or our overhead, or hiring consultants. Can't be used on anything else. Just this is for the planning grant for the planners here for the MPO. That was what we had at the end of October 2019. Now, we got an additional 570,000 from our planning grant. That's what we get every year. That based on our population size and basically our size, that's the money that the federal government gives the state government to apportion to the MPOs. That's our share of what we get. So that brought us up to about 2 million. And then what we think we're going to spend in fiscal year 2019, 2020, which ends in October of this year, based on what we're spending now, is going to be about 300,000. So that's going to leave us with a carryover at the end of this fiscal year in October 2020 with 1.8 million. So it's from that 1.8 million, we get another 570,000. It's that amount, which will be what, 2.3 million, that we're going to then possibly spend this 960,000 from. So I know there were some questions about this last year, so I wanted to take a little time to make that clear. We have a big reserve, so I don't want you to feel nervous that we want to spend more. The federal government, the state government has both encouraged us to use these monies because the biggest risk we take is just letting them sit there and then that money may be going away. But the planning grant itself has never been decreased in the 40, 50 years of the federal highway bill. But what we risk is if it's just sitting there not getting used, that could go away. So we want to utilize this money. We want to have internal staff. That's what the majority of MPOs do. They have staff. They don't hire out their work through consultants.
Mr. Chairman, John Galo for the record. If I may.
Yes, sir.
Kirby, can we use this for environmental or any other studies to get some projects moving forward?
This is meant to planning work. So if it was, let's say, environmental as part of the project, there's budget for that in other categories. This is meant explicitly for long-range planning and for the short-range planning that's necessary as part of a function of the MPO. So the short answer is no, we couldn't use it for environmental as part of a single project.
What's data development and maintenance?
Say that again?
What is data development and maintenance? 100,000?
2.0.
Yes, 2.0. That's for we have a database of GIS data, of spatial data. We have a lot of it that we're going to be managing in-house, and we may end up contracting outside to bring in that GIS work. We're looking to bring somebody with GIS expertise, an additional person on board. We're training staff to have GIS expertise, but basically we have a lot of spatial data and we want to organize that better. We want to capture more of it. And then in addition, there's more data that we can be bringing in. We're looking at projections for the future. There's modeling that can be done. So that all falls under data development and maintenance. If you go to the work plan, if you have a chance to review, so we're not approving today, we're just opening up the public hearing. But over the next month until we go to the next MPO policy committee, take a look at the UPWP. It goes into more detail in that category and all these categories. And then at the next meeting, that's the opportunity you have to approve or change or amend this plan.
Very good. Any other further questions or comments? This is for D, right? This is for 4D.
Yes, sir.
And you did mention a new hire named Juan Oliva, is that correct?
Yes, we hired Jason and Osa as part of the City of Laredo Planning Department for long-range planning, but we've been using him over the last 6 months in the MPO and full-time. That may continue. Right now, it's going to continue indefinitely. But we've also brought on board Juan Mendive, who will be assigned. He's being hired as part of the MPO, and he's coming over from the Housing Authority, and he's got a lot of good experience working with the federal government, and he's going to be filling the role as transportation planner that Vanessa was previously in.
Very good. Welcome on board, Mr. Juan Oliva.
So, Marta, we have to open it. So, motion to open public testimony, initiate 20 public review.
I will second that. I have a motion, a second. Any other further questions or comments on 4D? We're opening up public testimony.
That's open already.
Just open it.
No, but that hadn't been open for a month before or not?
No, sir, this is the first time.
Very good. So just to make clear again, we're gonna open it up for the first time. We have a motion by Dr. Martinez, second by the Chair, Dr. Medina. Any other questions or comments? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 4E, receive public testimony and approve resolution number MPO 2020-08, supporting the following proposed amendments to the National Highway System. Number one, we stay there, and do we open it up, Kirby, or do we want to go 1, 2, 3?
If you want, it's not necessary to read through all that. I'll just give a brief update for you
Beautiful.
or some context, and that is I apologize. If you could mute your mic if you're not using it, really help us with the echo. Thank you. So you saw this last time, the federal government, the federal and the state government were here to talk about the NHS system. They had some additions they wanted to make to the national highway system and some removals. They've reviewed it with us in depth, and we agreed with, staff agreed, all the different departments, the county, the city, those of us who are your technical committee reviewed this and agreed. And then we brought it to you last time, and they gave that presentation. They spent about 45 minutes answering all your questions. You agreed with them, and you made a motion to bring a resolution to that effect, and we've brought that resolution to you today. It's in the packet, and here it is as well. Basically, you see that bolded part in the middle. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Laredo City Webb County Area Metropolitan Planning Organization Policy Committee supports the following modifications. And these modifications are as were presented to you, and they are the addition of 3, the removal of 3, and the modification of the intermodal. Any questions?
Very good. No questions at this point in time. So that covered 1, 2, and 3. Is that correct?
It's just a 4E. 4E, which is
That's
just
just
the public
4E.
testimony and approve the resolution.
Okay, do we need to open up the public testimony, obviously?
You would, yes. And if we can, just give it a 30-second delay and see if there's anybody that joins us to speak.
So moved to open up the public testimony.
Second, but John Galo.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And we're gonna go ahead and give it another 30 seconds or a minute for somebody to see if they want to say something. Very good. Do we need to close it now, Kirby?
No, you can continue to move forward.
Okay, very good. Item 4E1, the addition. Go ahead.
So I apologize. So that the opening up the public hearing was for all of this for 4E. So
Very
now
good.
for E, the thing before you is whether or not to approve the resolution that you asked us to bring to you. So last time you said bring a resolution, we brought it. So the motion can be to approve this resolution, which is approving recommendations from the NHS.
For the record, move to approve the motion. Move to approve the resolution brought forward. The changes as noted on the screen.
Do I have a second? I'll second it for discussion. We have a motion and a second. Any other further questions or comments? Questions or comments are closed. Any opposed?
I still have a difficult time. I still struggle with removing the I-35.
Doc, give me 1 second. I'm sorry. It's very, very difficult to hear. So start again. I'm sorry.
Sure. I still have a difficult understanding the removal of the access road of certain monies that wouldn't be able to be allocated towards that if they came available. The removal of that access road along the east side of 30, if there was grant money or federal money available to improve that for mobility, we would access that money. Mr. Snyder, I think you and I talked about that a little bit. Is that accurate?
Well, we did talk about that, but your concern is not warranted. This will not affect funding for that. Basically, the way you got to think about the NHS, the best tool it is for wayfinding. And so, where they decide to put the signage, where they decide to direct the traffic, all of that is their national highway system. And so you can see that with the additions now of where the improvements are, that they want to direct traffic in a certain way, it's important that they designate the system accordingly so that they steer traffic, especially regional traffic and traffic that's not from where it's going through Laredo, the right way. So that's really at the heart of what this is about. Funding is not a concern. It will not hurt the ability to get funding. There's things that are not on the NHS that are already receiving funding with us right now, and that'll continue in the future.
Now, the question was, would it change the ability to get funding for on system? That particular that funding source for whatever they call that. Forgive me, I can't think of what they call it right now. But there's a specific funding that goes to this type of road. So somebody help me here because I'm having a difficult time remembering. But as far as being warranted, I think it is warranted. I'm very concerned about removing the possibility of funding that. And I think now, can I one more question, Mr. Snyder? This issue of road standards. How would road standards be affected by the removal of this as one of the avenues?
Well, if we're speaking to the frontage road that you were addressing before with the concerns about funding, though that still falls under TxDOT's jurisdiction. The city doesn't control the standards on the frontage roads, so that doesn't change essentially. But on some of these others that are removed, and it becomes now the prerogative locally and not TxDOT or the NHS, then we don't have to go through the same process if we choose to make a change to the road in terms of access management or lights, or I mean we follow best practices, but we may differ in some categories. And Mr. Salazar, with either the funding or with this question as well, feel free from TxDOT to speak from TxDOT's point of view.
So just to understand is when we're removing it from the national highway system, and removing the intermodal connector from I-35 north from Del Mar north to Uniroyal, there are national highway system grants that are specific to intermodal connectors, port to port connector, if you will. And to say that this is not one that I think is kind of overlooking the fact that there are specific monies available from the national highway system for these sections, and so I'm concerned about losing that. But as far as the intermodal from Del Mar north to Uniroyal, as long as TxDOT is saying that they're going to clean that up and going to continue to maintain that, I get it. But do we get access to that funding?
Doc, if I may, John Gale from the record.
This is David with TxDOT. Kind of hard. Mr. Snyman, thank you for that description. So the frontage road is still designated as a portion of the Interstate 35. It's still going to meet the current standards of interstate standards for frontage roads along the interstate. But I think just to kind of ease Mr. Martinez's mind, what I've done is we've asked Curtis Jones of TPP in Austin to kind of sit in on this meeting and give us a description exactly of what we're trying to accomplish with this. Funding will not be an issue for the frontage road to alleviate Mr. Martinez's frame of thinking, but let Curtis Jones skip in for a little bit and provide us a response. Again, he is from the Transportation Planning Division in Austin. Curtis, are you on?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon, everybody. What my colleague just said is actually accurate. You won't be losing any money. The road will still be maintained. So I think we're in good shape. This is just so we can be in compliance with the NHS and be in compliance with the current T-bill. But there won't be any losses for Laredo by going through this.
Okay, so we're not
changing the ability to apply national highway monies to this intersection. Is that
No.
correct?
Correct.
That's all the discussion I need.
So, do you have anything else to add, sir?
If I may, this is John Galo. Again, this is kind of like, this is basically a dinosaur that's outlived its time. You know, you have Google Maps, you have all these things on things. It was the designation of how you were the direct routes to these trucking and, you know, the your destinations. So if you're on the frontage road, you're going to go straight to the, you know, if you're on there north of the loop on the frontage road, the only way you can go is north to the Port of Laredo. Like before, remember there didn't used to be the exit directly to the Port of Laredo, it used to be to Uniroyal. So that's why that frontage road was designated to the Port of Laredo. Now that we have the exit, they'd rather you take 35 and get off. If you're on the frontage road, you just go on the frontage road. I don't think there's anything that we're going to need on the frontage road anytime soon. You know, I don't see any, I mean, there's no underpasses, overpasses, or anything to deal with there. So you're all right. And like I said, it's not gonna affect the funding.
Very good.
Yeah,
Sorry, does somebody have anything else to say?
no, this is Akila from TechStart. I just wanted to echo what was just mentioned there. So the intermodal connector essentially connects the intermodal facility to the nearest. Yes.
Akita? I think the committee members are good. I think they're ready to move forward on this, unless they have.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, I'll stand by.
We're gonna go ahead and call the question. I have a motion, I have a second, for, just to make sure it's item 4.
Yeah.
E, it's F, is that correct, Kirby?
Yes, sir. 4E, approve the resolution.
1, 2, 3, okay, so I have a motion, I have a second, call the question, any other questions or comments? Questions and comments are closed, any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 4F, motion to approve and authorize the execution of contract amendment number 2 with CDM Smith for the 2020-2045 Metropolitan Transportation Plan Update and FAST Act Compliance Project in order to amend the scope of services to include 10 hours of travel demand, model training for MPO staff, and increase the fee by $7,500 from $364,390.50 to $371,890.50.
John, record to move to approve motion F as read and written.
I have a motion. I'll second that.
Yes, second.
Very good. Councilman Martinez, the second is fine. So I have a motion, I have a second. Any other questions or comments? They are closed. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now, the next one is going to be G, discussing with possible action on a char roof injury. We have, I know I saw Mr. Guillermo Cuellar, and I don't know who's going to speak on this.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, good afternoon, I'm sorry. I just wanted to give a brief update. We have received the 100% schematic from our consultant, and we also have received the final environmental assessment draft that we're going to submit to TxDOT this week. That should be getting closer to completion. So that's really the only update that we have as far as Webb County is concerned.
Kirby, do you need anything else on this?
No, sir, unless Mr. Garcia would like to say anything.
John Galo, for the record, I'd like to ask, so from this point forward, what's the next step? And David, maybe you could give us a little idea of how we move forward from here?
Were you addressing Mr. Gale?
Commissioner, as far as the environmental, once we submit it to TxDOT, and if TxDOT's okay with what we're submitting, they're going to do an environmental assessment document ready for distribution. So they would send it to Austin for review. I think that whole process will take a couple of months, maybe towards the end of fall. Once they approve it, then we can start getting ready to receive the FONSI for it. And that should complete the whole environmental process.
Well, the
This is Tito Gonzalez, TPD Director for TxDOT Laredo District. I can add on to that, Commissioner Galo. Once that is complete, TxDOT is already working with the City of Laredo to put together the documents that will be required to procure the plans, specifications, and estimate packet, so we can move into the design portion of this contract, of this project. So that will be the next phase. We currently have it scheduled for in August of 2022, letting to go to construction, but that will first require the plans to be prepared and finalized by the city.
Okay, if I may ask, because I thought he said he had 100% of the design schematic.
Yes.
Correct, Commissioner. Yeah, that's the schematic. So that's the schematic that's required to develop the environmental clearance. But now we need to move into development of the actual plans themselves.
Yeah, the construction documents.
Yes, sir. Yes.
August of 2022, so that'll be actually in 2022, right?
Correct. That's fiscal year 2022.
Yeah, but I'm saying, if you're landing in August of 22, I mean, it's fiscal 22. So we're 2 years away from breaking dirt. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. All righty, thank you.
Mr. Gonzalez, how long has this project been on the board?
David, you may want to speak to this a little more. You've been here a little longer, but
8 years. 7 years.
I was just adding a little bit of fuel to your fire there, Commissioner Galo.
9 years to get it done.
How many years?
Hey, it only took me, we got 50 years to get the loop to it. Highway.
We'll be all right, Commissioner. We'll be all right. Just real quick for the public to know, how long have we been working on this term? David Salazar?
Yes, Your Honor, I got the question. I know that I've been at the direction of the TPD for the past 2.5 years when we started the process. Beyond that, I'd have to go back and look at it. It has been a long road to get us to this point, working with separate entities, working with the county, of course, the MPO and our district. I think we're finally at the point where we're moving forward on it. But it has been a long process. I will agree with you, and all we can do is look forward to the future and hopefully get this project out and get it constructed. The next phase again is going to be the final phase before construction, so I'm looking forward to that. Anything that we may do to expedite that process.
Very good, gentlemen. Thank you all very much. I mean, we just, being in the public business, sometimes it just feels like it dragged on forever. So you're going to hear a little bit of snips here and there. Anyway, Kirby, do we have anything to do with G? Do we need to do anything with the possible action?
No, not unless you decide to take action. If not, you can just move.
Okay, we'll just move on. Do you have anything on that before we move on? Very well. Item number 5, reports and presentations. No action required in this particular one. A, report by TxDOT on the status of the ongoing projects.
Yes, Tito, if you'd like to take over, share your screen.
Kirby, I think you have a slide of our, we forward you a slide of our projects. If you could throw those up. I do have Jesus Avera, who's our Laredo area engineer, is going to run through these projects quickly.
Yes, David, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right,
yes,
sir. This is Jesus Saavedra, the area engineer for TxDOT. I'm not sure if I can see the slides.
Yes, just 1 second.
All right.
All right, there you go.
All right, thank you. We're going to start with the US 83 North. We have a couple of projects there that have been ongoing for some time now. US 83 from Dimmitt County line to 3.4 miles south of SH44. We're doing the rehabilitation of that section of the road. Our contractor is Anderson, Colombia. We're investing $49 million on that project. Right now, we're in the second phase. We're just north of the checkpoint, working around the SH44 intersection. We already did concrete pavement there. And we have a anticipated termination date on December 2022. Adjacent to that project, just south of it, we have another project from that point, south of the checkpoint, all the way to I-35. We started that a couple of months ago. We have $68.5 million invested there. We're barely on the 3% completion. We anticipated to complete it on December 2024. Right now, we're working on the intersection of I-35 and US 83. We'll be doing some concrete paving there, so we might be closing the road on that intersection, that underpass, for a few days. Next week, we'll be sending notices to the businesses and to put in message boards and whatever is needed to make sure that the community, the public knows that we're going to be doing that closure. There's going to be a detour. It's going to be traffic is going to be detoured through 255. It will be closed probably unless something changes between Wednesday, June 24th, all the way to Sunday, 28th. That's going to be for the concrete paving that we're going to do on that intersection of I-35 and US 83. We also have the rehabilitation of the FM 3238 between Mines Road and SH 255. That is also a $23 million project. We're still on phase one. The work is 15% completed, and we're having an expectation date for September 2022. Next slide, please. I don't know. Okay. Then we'll have, this is a new project on FA 1472 from 9.8 miles north of 255 to 14.5 miles north of 255. That's around 5 mile long project. We're going to be adding shoulders to that section of the road. That project is going to start sometime this month, before the end of the month, and we have an expectation date for June 2021. Also, well, we were very happy that we were able to lead the big project on I-35 and the railroad red separation, along with Director of Connector number 5 and number 8, this a couple of weeks ago. The project has not been awarded, but we have a potential low bidder. We plan to start sometime before the end of the year, hopefully, and the termination date will be summer 2024. Also, we have another project that was led this month. We're going to be doing a concrete barrier extension on Business 59, on US 59 from Saunders, somewhere near the airport. We're going to be adding concrete barrier there, some median separator. That's, again, that's not been awarded yet, but we have a potential low bidder. And that's going to start sometime again before the end of the year and be completed by summer of next year. So those are the projects that we have ongoing and in the near future.
Mr. Simon, thank you, Jesus, for that brief description of those projects. In total, these projects are $260 million that are under construction within the city of Laredo. I want to thank the MPO, the county, the RMAs working together on these projects. The commitment to these thoroughfares coming out of World Trade and Mines Road, especially with La Tiendas Road, FM 3338, that's going to help alleviate that. The US 83 portion of the project where we see a lot of the trucking that's happening around 35. And most definitely the Shallow project. In total, once again, $260 million worth of construction dollars to and within the city of Laredo. The last project that Mr. Cervera mentioned out there was a concrete barrier. That is some highway safety improvement enhancement dollars that we were able to capture to help assist with the accidents we're having within the city, to kind of trying to curtail and get some of those incidents not to happen, along with a curb meeting that's coming up that seems to be a hot topic here lately Again, all in the interest of reducing accidents and increasing the safety of the fellow people in the city of Laredo. But thank you for your time. If there's any questions, I'll be willing to answer any questions on those projects.
Galo, for the record, I don't have any questions. I just want to say thank you, David, to you and your staff. I mean, that's it's an outstanding amount of money. And like I said, I've been around a long time seeing it, and we haven't seen these type of expenditures and these type of movements in quite some time. So kudos to you and all your staff. Thank you.
No, thank you, and for supporting us. And we do thank everybody. And I forgot to mention, I saw Tony on there with the RMA, actually working with him as well on some of these projects. Thank you for that, and I appreciate that.
Kirby, I did want to mention too, from Texas, just to echo what David said, you know, those are the ones that are in construction, but we have an additional about 250 million of projects that'll be coming in the next, 3-4 years, 5 years here in the MPO corridor. So we got to keep working together and coordinating through this MPO to make sure we get those accomplished. So we look forward to continuing to work with you all on that as well.
Gentlemen, I think that is, I think, David, I want to echo Commissioner Galo. You guys are outstanding job on we receive these monies and ready projects that are coming out. My 6 years that I've been here is just pretty much the fastest that I've seen it come out. So good job on all that to everyone. Really, really proud to say that. So let's just keep it going. I know sometimes it moves a little slower than we want to, but we're getting there. So thank you all very, very much. Anything else on this particular item before we move on to our last one, which is the RMA? Thank you all very much. G, status report of regional mobility, the RMA authority. I believe we have a couple of weeks. Ready to go.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Judge. For the record, Antonio Rodriguez, representing the Webb County City Laredo Regional Mobility Authority. Hope everyone's having a good day today, and thank you, David, as well. Just to tack on to the comments that you made, it's a great working relationship, and we're looking forward to a lot of years working with the district and the county and the city on this. So our update will be brief. First off, Kilman Industrial Boulevard turn lanes. We talked about this project last month. As I stated, it's programmed for letting in August. TxDOT division is reviewing the plans in conjunction with the Laredo District's project of I-69 West 1472. We are on track for letting in August, like I stated. So that project's moving forward, and we're still looking at starting construction in November. Next project is that the RMA is still pushing is Los Presidentes from Cuatro Vientos to Concord Hills. Project is scheduled for 95% design submittal to the RMA and to the city of Laredo this month. In conjunction with that project, there's also the acceleration, deceleration lanes on Cuatro Vientos. That particular project, which will actually be constructed by TxDOT via donation agreement with the RMA, that is at 30% level design at the moment. We, the RMA, have received those plans and have provided comments now to our to the consultant, Crane Engineering. But with regards to Los Presidentes, the city component from Cuatro Vientos to Concord Hills, we're looking for advertisement by the city of Laredo on that project in August, September timeframe, and starting construction shortly after that, hopefully in October, November as well. Via Seal Road, that project is still ongoing from the study side. The RMA has completed some survey work on the actual corridor itself, established control, the actual survey line as well, and utilities have been identified as well. And we're working with the Laredo District to try to get some more traffic data along I-35 for the work that they've done, or they are doing currently on the schematic for I-35 from mile marker 7 to mile marker 16. That item is definitely still going on. Last but definitely not least, we are looking at, yes, sir. Was there a question? Okay. Last item, the RMA has a tentative board meeting scheduled for July, in which case we'll definitely be advancing Biasia Road for the next phase. Have to do possibly extend the time frame of the current work that we're doing on it, number one. And also we're going to be looking at reprioritizing our projects as an agency for the next couple of years as well. Is there a question?
Any questions at this particular time for the RMA?
This is Marta Martinez for the record. No questions. Thank you very much. And as you reprioritize, remember that there are a lot of necessities within the community here in Laredo, not just on the outskirts, but also within the city itself that would help mobility tremendously. And that's something that I think the RMA has to look at as well.
Yes, sir, Councilman. And I hear you loud and clear. I know the chairman has discussed with you a couple of times on the priorities as well. And the Army is very excited on future partnership opportunities with the city of Laredo, as well as with Webb County, to advance all the mobility priorities that we have within our communities. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. That's all. Thank you.
John Gala for the record. I do have a question, and Tony, and I don't know, maybe even Kirby, going back to what I think was item 4, where you did the presentation about the staff and the 2.3 million that we'll have. Possibly, how do we do a traffic study for the fairgrounds? Because the master plan never did it, the ingress and egress, and we're about to spend a whole bunch of money there, and I would still like somebody to be able to address that and see if there's a better way to get the traffic in and out of there. And I don't know, we could do it with cooperation of the RMA or Kirby under those special projects or something that you had listed there.
Yeah, I think that would be a better fit for the RMA, or maybe partnering with the city, with the traffic department in the city. The planning grant is meant to provide bigger picture, larger, longer range planning, and then the shorter range planning that's for compliance for the rules that we have. So we can use staff or we can use consultants to do that. But for something specific or project specific.
And fast, I mean, because we're getting ready to start, and like I say, the architects who were supposed to do it didn't do anything. So,
but what we're hoping to do, while we can't use those funds, if we had more staff on board, which is what we're working towards, yeah, we could assign a staff or two to help with that project, and that's what we're building towards, being able to provide that kind of assistance to other departments on other solutions for different challenges. So we're working towards that for sure.
Okay, what do you think, Judge?
Well,
something like that.
I agree very much, Commissioner. I'm glad you brought that up because it was much needed, be studied and looked at, even if we have to widen it or whatever needs to be done, because everybody knows, everybody's been to there at the fairgrounds on 59, when you get a large crowd, I mean, you'll get that traffic backed up all the way up to Saunders, past the whole, I mean, from everything. It's just really gets backed up all the way. So we're going to have to, I'm glad you brought it up. It's going to be something that's definitely worth looking at.
Commissioner Gaylor, Marta Martinez, where exactly are you needing this study? What is it that you're needing? In and out?
Dr. Martinez, just real quick, with Commissioner Gaylor's talking about what the new fairgrounds project that Webb County's we're doing right now, we're undertaking is, so the egress and the ingress and egress of the whole Webb County Fairgrounds. So we are going to probably have to flatten beyond the flattening of the entrance, because there's a little hill that goes up on top, like you kind of fall them out sometimes if it's too low, the cars, all those little things. But more importantly, that's no big deal. But the more important of it all is the egress and the ingress of how to get in safely, because it is 59, Highway 59, and so it is a highway. So you have some, they're going 55, 65 miles an hour.
Yeah, and I was asking more about, because I had suggested to the people way back is maybe we move that entrance farther down, allowing for some queuing, and then maybe even putting a separate exit. I don't know if is that Henry Cuellar Boulevard or what's the one that goes to the Boys Club, the Boy Scouts, and bring them out at that traffic light so they can turn right or left, and just maybe making the exits separate. But we need somebody that knows traffic to be able to analyze that, because there's only right now there's one way in, one way out.
That is correct. Doc, did you get that? Did you understand that?
I did. I understand completely. Mr. Snyderman, can you make a record of that? And just so that we can kind of clarify, I don't know how far how is that inside the city, outside the city? Like, how far does it go out? The limits, just so see if there's some way that we can help as well. But just let's talk about it soon.
I'm not mistaken, it's actually in the city limits.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So let me talk about it soon with Mr. Snyderman. See what I can do to help. Okay.
Yeah, we'll make a note, and also Dan McGee, our traffic director, is on. If you would like him to speak to it, he's here as well.
Well, we're not going to get anything done today, but if y'all we can just get looking at that. And so, what do we need to do to appropriate some funds or get something done so we can get a study done to be able to make a recommendation fairly quick? Because otherwise, it's just going to be the status quo.
Okay.
Kirby, this is Danny McGee. Just a quick recommendation. Since this is on Highway 59, you should be working with Texas on this, and so they can at least lead you in what direction you need to go.
Very well. We'll give David a call in.
So let's just outside of this, let's just schedule a meeting and go over this. It makes sense to get it done correctly.
Very good. Okay.
And I can definitely bring this to Chairman Brown's attention, Commissioner and Judge, and get his thoughts on it. He's always looking for opportunities to support the community and cost share opportunities as well. So.
This is Kirby here, Planning Director. I'll schedule a meeting with Dr. Martinez and, working with him, schedule a meeting with the RMA, the county, the city, and TxDOT, and maybe we can get all our heads together and provide as much a solution as we can.
Okay, you'll send us an invite?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. That is all that we have basically for the meeting. Please.
Motion to adjourn. Marta Martinez, motion to adjourn.
Angelo, second.
Do not tell the mayor that we were under an hour. Y'all know that.
101.
We'll never come back here to co-chair again. All right, motion second to adjourn. Thank you all very much. Any other questions, comments? Motion carries. Y'all have a good day.